Who knows birds? Who's seen a bird? Who's been given a bird? Okay. All right. So do you understand what I'm saying? You need to sit down and figure this out. This is going to be part of your homework tonight to identify who you are, where you're going, what you do, what your products are, who you want to be, and where you're not there. Okay. Who do you need to start meeting with when you go to conferences and events in our boot camp? Who do you need to meet there so that you expand the top of your funnel? That is one of the reasons, by the way. Somebody asked yesterday, how do you decide who you're going to bring on stage? Because I'm trying to expand the top of my funnel. Today, I bring to you a man that I know will expand the top of my funnel. New York Times bestselling author, podcaster, award-winning storyteller, farmer monk. It's crazy, dude. Okay. This guy has had 400 viral videos that went viral. That means he's hitting something that the public wants to see that did 7 billion views. I did not know that. Damn, man, we should have given him more money then, right? His podcast, On Purpose, is consistently ranked one of the top health podcasts in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please, he's on Ellen, he's on Oprah, he's on what was he on this morning? Drew Barrymore. I said, somebody said he's on Drew Barrymore today. I said, yeah, well, he's going to be on Grant Cardone tonight. Okay. Jay Shetty, welcome to the 10X zone, buddy.
Hey, Grant, thank you for having me. And hello to everyone else as well here. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you and love watching your career, Jay, and what you do to help people. And I was downtown Miami Saturday. Don't you do this online meditation every day?
Yeah, every single day. We've been doing 20 days, got like 3 days left.
Yeah, so true story. I'm out looking at a piece of real estate that JP Morgan's selling. And there's a guy set up outside on the streets of Miami, downtown Miami. And he's got his camera set up and I walk behind him. He's doing a meditation.
I love that. That's
dude,
beautiful.
I went behind his shoulder and I'm sitting there while he's got his eyes closed doing the meditation. If you go back and watch it, you were doing the meditation and I'm in it. So
I love that, man. That's beautiful. I need to see that. We need to see that on video. I need to find it.
Yeah, I should have done it, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. So look, I really appreciate you being here today. And today, Jay, this is our 9th day. I think our 9th day. Yes. Talking about, how to 10X a business. And these people have showed up every day. I mean, most of these people are just religious on showing up. And my audience is a bunch of crazy people. What you want to just share, Jay, some of your struggles with getting known, and because you're today known, I see you hanging out with Will Smith and celebrities all the time. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, first of all, Grant, I want to say a big thank you to you for what you do. I've met people along my journey too who are huge fans and followers of yours. I remember a few years back when I first moved to New York City, I was connecting with someone in the group YPO, which is the Young Presidents Organization. And they were like, have you heard of this guy, Grant Cardone? And they showed me the 10X book. And they're like, this changed my life, And so it's been amazing from my side. And I can't wait to finally meet you, man. I can't believe we've been digitally talking for so long, but I really look forward to meeting you. But yeah, talking about the struggles and the journey that I've been on, I think it's really important. I'm glad you bring that up. So I was born and raised in London, and I was just going about my daily way, looking to get a good job, find a good partner, tick all the boxes, because I didn't really have any other idea apart from that. I didn't grow up around entrepreneurs. I grew up around 3 main careers: doctors and lawyers, engineers, maybe dentists. And so I didn't want to be any of those things. And so I've said before that, I grew up with 3 options growing up: doctor, lawyer, or failure. And I was pursuing the third one, according to my family. And I completely changed my trajectory when I went and lived as a monk for 3 years. But coming back from that, that's where the struggle really comes in. I was rejected by 40 companies when I came back from living as a monk, because surprise, surprise, no one wants to hire a monk on their resume, right? Like no one wants to hire someone. They're
like, where have you been for 3 years? And you said,
I've been in the monastery. I've been meditating. They're like, yeah, what are your transferable skills? Like what, sitting still and being quiet? Like we don't need that. And these were companies that would have given me a job beforehand because, I did really well at school. I have a first-class honors degree. And so, it was quite hard to take that 40 companies just said no straight up because I'd been a monk for 3 years. And then I finally got a job at a company called Accenture, which is this global consulting company, which has 500,000 people globally. And they were really investing in social media in 2013. And I was just like, social media, that seems interesting. I knew nothing about it because I'd been in the monastery during the rise of a lot of social media platforms and didn't use them. And I thought, wow, that sounds really interesting. That would be such a cool way of getting to know people. And so I started going to all these sessions and workshops and seminars at the company. And by taking part in all the activities and everything, I became the #1 social media person at the company in the world. And I was training the execs on whether it was using social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, understanding the platform, understanding content creation. And then after doing that for a couple of years, I was thinking, well, I want to share what I learned as a monk. That's the reason why I wanted to learn these skills, is I'd come across all these incredible insights that were thousands of years old. And I was like, I want to make this relevant and practical. So I pitched my video idea before I ever created a video. I pitched my idea to 10 media companies in London, and they all rejected me before interview because they said, you don't have a media background or a journalism background or a communications background. I then pitched it to 3 execs, media execs in London. One of them told me I was too old. One of them to be in media. I was 28.
How old were you at the time?
I was 28. I was 28 at the time. And he said, everyone who wants this job is 21. You're 28. You're too old. Another person told me that I was too underqualified. And then the third person said to me, they're like, well, aren't you getting married? I was getting married the year after that. And they were like, well, if you're getting married, you should just play it safe. Don't take a career risk. So I ended up I was rejected literally by another 10 companies, another 3 execs. And I end up at an ethnic minority TV training day run by the BBC in London to see if I even had the skills to try and share what I was doing, because my confidence had been hit. And they were like, oh yeah, Jay, you've got skills, you've got some talent, this is good. And I was like, well, give me a job in media. And they said, there aren't any jobs in media. And I was like, what? You literally called 6 brown and black people here to tell us that there's no jobs in media. And then they said to me, well, why don't you start a YouTube channel? This was 2016. He said, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And I was just like, that doesn't work for anyone. I had this massive limiting belief. And my response was, well, that works for Justin Bieber. That doesn't work for me. And they were just like, no, well, that's your only option. And so there's this beautiful quote by Thomas Edison, which really I see as the crux of everything I'm talking to you about right now. Thomas Edison said that when you feel you've exhausted all options, remember this, you haven't. And that's literally been the mantra that I've been repeating ever since then, of just, if this isn't the way, there'll be another way. And I don't have to go down the traditional route. No one traditionally gave me a shot all the way till last year when we launched my podcast. We had a big podcast production company that was sponsoring us, and we had this deal lined up. And 2 weeks before the podcast launched last year, February 14th was the day I launched my podcast, 2019. They pulled out because they said it wasn't going to be a big podcast. And they pulled out from the deal. And so I had to scrap and find anything I could to get the podcast going. And so I've just seen that again and again and again, that the traditional route hasn't been the reason for things working. It's really been trying to find a way. So that's some of the failures and some struggles.
Yeah, but Jay, like the traditional piece of that story is that you didn't quit as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't.
You're like water. The monk would say be the water, not the rock, right?
Well said, well quoted. I like that. That's Buddha energy in that. I love that. And it's true. I've been so convinced ever since I met the monks and learned what they were sharing, that this wisdom belongs to everyone in the world and that it's so powerful. And I believe more in the message than I do in myself. And that's what's kept me going, is the message is too amazing and too strong. And so, yeah, thankfully I keep going.
Yeah. So let's breach the issue. How does because I know you got a book out right now. It's Think Like a Monk, right? New York Times bestseller, #1 on the charts. I mean, I don't even know how you do that with all this election stuff going on. It's crazy, dude. Like, to get any attention today on a book.
It's really just it just shows us that the world is moving towards a more conscious place. That's really all I can say, is that people are making the choice to choose wisdom and choose consciousness and choose healing, which is beautiful. I mean, it's wonderful.
So Jay, a lot of my audience is very interested in money because I talk about money a lot. Okay. And money and monk both start with the letter M. So I thought we would breach the conversation. There has to be some reason to do this, right? How do you monetize? For those out there that are seeking awareness and peace and balance, how do you also convert that into, hey, I also need to monetize on this planet?
Yeah, absolutely. So not only do they share the M, they share the MON as well. So money and monk. So
good point.
Similarities they go on. But it's really interesting. So when I first started creating content in 2016, I didn't have a plan to launch a brand or have a monetization plan at all. I just wanted to create content. And I ended up in a position where in 2017, I had 100 million views, but I was 4 months away from being broke because I was putting all my money into creating content and videos, but I didn't really understand business fully. I mean, I'd worked in businesses and I knew how to be an employee, but I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. And I sat there and I was really looking at my life and I was thinking, I want to have an impact in the world. I want to help people. I want to serve people. But if I'm 4 months away from being broke and that just covers rent and groceries, that means I don't have any money to make videos. That means I don't have any money to donate. It means I don't have any money to give away. And I kind of reconnected with a lot of my monk training, and monks talk about money in the sense of money is energy. Yes. And it's a resource. And so any energy can either be used for a higher purpose or a lower purpose. So having money is not the issue. It's what you do with it. And I grew up, and Grant, I know you talk about this, and I hope this resonates with a lot of people. I grew up in a family where we always had just enough. So yeah. I got so used to seeing zero in my bank account growing up that I got so comfortable seeing zero that I never really realized the value of money. And even to some degree, I think I had a negative view of whether spirituality and money could go together. I think I had this block of like, you can't do good and have money. Like I couldn't get my head around that, only to realize that that was a block in my own mind. Because if money was energy and what you wanted to do with it was what made it good or bad, like you either used it to just exploit and manipulate, or you used it to serve and make a difference, I was like, oh, wait a minute, then I need to work on this rewiring my relationship with money. So 2017 going 2018 is when I first started to think about what I could do. And one of the first things that happened is 2018, Facebook launched monetization of videos. And so that was so for 2 years, I didn't make any money from creating content because I didn't know what we were doing and what the plan was. And so then 2018 was when we started making money from videos. We also launched my coaching community, which has been truly phenomenal. We just did a PERMA study on it, and we found that 90 days in my coaching community increases happiness by 40%. Through people actually measuring their own journey and their own happiness. So we have my coaching community. Earlier this year, we just launched my life coaching certification school. So you can become an accredited certified life coach. I am one, and I always wanted to pass that on to other people because I'm such a big believer in mentorship and coaching, and I wanted other people to have that option. And last year we launched my podcast, which has been absolutely phenomenal for creating that as well. So I really started out with no plan and had an audience built with no plan to even build an audience. And then I really had to think about, how do I sustain this and how do we invest in it? And now when we have, multiple employees all across the world who are part of this mission, what I realized is that without money, I couldn't give other people the opportunity to live their purpose either. And so there was so much more of an extension of how money could be used. So those are some of the ways in which we've
and Jay, talk to me about, because I think we talk about people making money a lot, but on the reverse side of that, or the opposite side, is how do I let go of money? How do I spend it? How do I use it? How do I invest it? You just want to talk about the reverse flow of that so that you're not getting stuck flows and stops and blocks.
Yeah, I love that. Well, that was always what it was for me, that when we started out, I said, well, we're going to make money to serve, to invest. So over the past couple of years, I picked the charities that are really important to me. And so whether that be children's education, I've been working with Pencils of Promise very strongly, both fundraising, donating. I've been working with a program that I worked on as a monk, which was called the Midday Meals Program in India. The program delivers 1.2 million meals per day to the children of India. And I was involved as a monk in terms of actually being a part of serving the kids and going out there and feeding them. And now I'm much more involved in a financial capacity and in a director capacity of how we share what we're doing there. So that's been super powerful. And for me, currently at the stage I'm in, all of my investment is back into talent in my businesses. So the stage that I'm at currently, Grant, like I'm not at your stage. So for me, my stage is how do I reinvest the money back into what I'm doing? Because I see the value in it and what it's building. And to me, it's finding the right talent and investing in the right talent who can continue to grow our podcast, our videos, our content world that we're creating and our coaching world. So the certification school was a big investment on our part, but however much I invested in that, and same with the podcast initially with equipment, travel was a big investment, but those investments are investments that I'm excited about because I get to do what I'm passionate about and they create monetization and revenue streams.
So Jay, today we were talking, I really, really appreciate you being on here and your insights and your experience and your path and what you can share with the audience. How important or what advice would you give the audience today about getting clear on who they are and what they have to offer the world? My path is different than yours. Yours is different than mine. We can both learn from each other, but what takeaways would you give the audience today?
Absolutely. So in my book, I share a concept called Dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word that I learned as a monk. It has many translations, but one of the translations that I love is eternal purpose or your natural inclination, your natural strength. And it's made up of three things. So purpose equals passion plus strength plus compassion. So it's finding the synergy between what you enjoy, what you like doing, what brings you life, what you're actually good at and you're willing to become the best in the world at. And then finally, compassion. How are you using that to serve the world? So the mistake I hear a lot right now is people pursue their passion, but they're not actually good at it. And that's the part that's missing, is that if it's not a strength, if it's not a deep skill set, if it's not something you're willing to work on, it's very difficult to turn it into something real that is A, monetizable, but B, actually is having an impact in the world. And so for me, that's really where it starts. And that's how you find the truest version of yourself, is being honest with yourself. So I'll give you an example. I love soccer, like football, as we call it back in London. I'm a huge football fan. I absolutely love the sport. I watch the game. I love playing it. But I never had the work ethic, the strengths to go out there and actually become a professional soccer player. And hence I'm not one. And I have to be real and honest about the fact that either I didn't have the skills growing up naturally when no one spotted me, or I didn't have the work ethic to go and become good at it, like Cristiano Ronaldo or one of these players. But with what I do currently, I am willing to do the work. I am willing to do the training. And so that's what it comes down to, is that I think the missing link for most people is that they care, they have the compassionate aspect, hopefully. And so let's take Jeff Bezos, for example. I'm sure he's got some sort of passion in tech and business. He's got a strength. He knows how to actually work it, and he's worked hard on developing that strength. And his product serves the world. Amazon serves each and every one of us in one way or another. We all use the product. And so he's got that complete alignment. And so what we're really looking for is alignment, because people say, oh, I have a lot of passions, or I care about a lot of things. It's about finding the alignment and the synergy across all three. And that's where I would start.
How important is a payday to you?
Tell me what you mean by that. How do you define that?
So you brought up Jeff. Okay. Look, Jeff, I don't think, and I agree with you about the passion thing. I think a lot of people are looking for their passion. The monk has to go through a lot of discomfort early on to get used to sitting and being still. I think you would say that no monk is good at that naturally.
Agreed.
So I just want everybody to be clear. To get good at anything, you're gonna have to get good at something you're probably not good at.
Yep.
And I know many of the things that I have not wanted to do in my life, on the other side of that was exactly who I was supposed to become.
Yep.
And it was my resistance to it that was actually, whatever that was, like, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to be a salesman. I hated the idea. I hated being called that. I thought I was better than that. My ego was very much invested in some other title. And it was that I had to lean into, Jay. I'm sure you've had those places where you're like, hey, the thing I'm resisting is what I need to lean into and actually get good at. The
Yeah.
passion thing has never, ever provided a payday for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think there's parts of it. The point is, the passion part is the mistake we make with passion is we say everything needs to be the passion. And that's not the truth. Like, we all have to do things every day that we don't love doing, right? That's a big part of life, and making something work. And there have been times in my journey where I've had to do more of what I didn't love to afford to get to the point to do what I do love. So I do love doing interviews on my podcast, and we have a great team of we have great team members that are selecting the right companies and the brands that we work with, that we partner with. So there is a way of creating a business model that is based on stuff you're passionate about. But hey, there's a lot of things you're gonna have to learn that you're not passionate about, or partner with people. And I think that's been one of my strengths, is in the things that I don't love, I've been good at attracting the right partners, because I'm all in on what I'm really strong at. And I'm not scared to outsource or partner with other people who have deep expertise in what they have. But you've got to have something to barter with at that time. Like, you have to have something.
Yeah. And you know what you said a few minutes ago, you're like, Grant, I'm not at your level. You said that with such ease and no ego and no investment in that was good or bad or less or more. And I think everybody here, you guys need to understand what Jay just said about drafting and getting on somebody else's vehicle, like riding with other people. How much of a lift has that given you, Jay, that you didn't have to do that work? You just got in the right platform with the right people. Yeah,
huge. Like, so you can save yourself so much time, but again, you have to have something to create the partnership or the trade. No one's going to trade with you equally, or it's not going to be a win-win if you're expecting someone else to just massively lift you up. And so for me, it's been huge, whether it's been partnering with the right people to launch our courses, or whether it's been helping a team, helping me build an amazing curriculum for our certification school. Like, to me, I've been wanting to up level the game on a lot of these things that exist. And that comes with using my expertise, but then recognizing the strengths of others. And I think the mistake we make is we either try to be everything. And by the way, in the beginning, you have to be everything. So in the beginning, you are everything. But as you start to grow, the key is to start noticing other people's strengths. So for example, Grant, when we get to hang, I'm not going to be sitting there telling you stuff. I want to be asking you questions about what you would be doing if you were me, because I know there's plenty of stuff that you could help me with. And I have no ego about it. And I'm glad that you felt that way, because to me, that's the only way we win, really, is if we're willing to sit down and say, well, what can I give? And that's why you have to have a strength, because you have to have something at the table to serve with and give back. And if you have that, then you're going to get in with more rooms, more doors opening, and more people.
You get very close to calling me Grunt. I noticed that a couple of times now. Grunt. With that accent that you have. my brother used to call me Grunt. That was his nickname for me. So
yeah, I'm sorry. It's the English accent. I should call it Grant, right?
Yeah. Dude, if I had an English accent, I'd be a billionaire right now. I mean, I'd be like, and if I had your looks too, you know. So Jay, how old are you now?
I'm 33.
Yeah, good for you, man. You're crushing it, bro. And I really, really appreciate you being here today and sharing. Hey, the book is How to Think Like a Monk. You guys should get the book, okay? Maybe we can do something for people that are in our VIP section. Jay, I know we want to figure out how to get you to 10X Growth Conference to talk about taking this beautiful, this thing this vibe you have, and we 10X that thing, just like.
I love that, man. I love that. I love what you do. I think it's awesome. I love the conversations you're having. And I love the fact that you're empowering people to rewire their relationship with money. I think that's a really important thing. And, you know, hey, I get judged for it too. You know, there's plenty of people who don't understand how you can let two ideas coexist of being a good person, wanting to do good, and being materially successful. But hey, I think that's what we need in the world. I think we need people more compassionate with more resources to do good.
Bro, me and you running the streets together, we could be like, because I just crush people. I'm like, you say you're good and you're broke. I don't see how you put the two together. Something's missing here.
Yeah, well, that's
there's no God on this planet would want an individual on a planet where there's like an abundance of resources to be like a good father and then have to struggle at Whole Foods.
Yeah, I think we need to help people with realizing that strategy and sincerity, like assertiveness and affection, like these things go hand in hand. And that's, you know, we were talking about that on the live the other day of the yin yang, like it's when you bring those two together that you're just unstoppable. Like, again, if you just want to be rich, and you don't have the service mindset and intention, you'll get rich potentially, but it won't do anything, right?
You won't be rich.
Exactly. So why not do both? Like, why not do it with a deeper meaning and get there anyway, right? That's what we need.
Yeah, let's do both, man. Because I see a lot of people praying, meditating, wishing for guidance, and then not doing the work and not having the strategy, not having the plan. Yeah. So anything I can do to help you, man, build your brand, grow your business, become even more successful than you already are, both myself, my company, and our community. We got a big community. I implore all you guys to really support Jay in what Jay's doing and help grow his band. Okay, everybody give a big shout out to Jay, Big Jay Shetty. Okay, grab his book, read it, write a review on it. Jay, hang on a second, because what I'm gonna do is we're gonna come to a little Q&A with the VIPs. And I'm just going to serve up a bunch of questions to you. Everybody's loving on you, man. Jared, the other Jay in my life, Jared Glant, is going to talk about the homework.
If they connect and resonate with you, you're going to win at everything in life, because everything's people. And so if you don't have emotional intelligence, you're phenomenal. And that's been the thing that pushes me along even now.
How long did it take you to write your current book, and what was your process? And this is from Manny Blue. What's the fastest you've ever written a book, Jay? Let me ask you that.
Right, it's my first ever book.
Oh, this is?
This is my first ever book. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man. I was giving you credit for being like, this is book number 27 or something.
No. This is my first ever book. So this book took me 5 hours a day for 12 months to write. The idea for the title and the concept came to me about 4 years ago. And then I built it in my head over that time while I was creating all my other content and my work. And then now felt like the right time. And yeah, it took about 5 hours a day for 12 months. I had a whole proposal that actually helped so much. And I really recommend, if anyone wants to write a book, whether you're self-publishing or whether you're working with a publisher, build a proposal, because it literally gives you a roadmap. And then you're just trying to fill in that roadmap. So for me, building a proposal, I knew I had 3 key sections. I knew I had 4 chapters in each section. I named all the chapters, and names changed. But having that breakdown really helped. Yeah. I like that. John West wants to know, what's the best way Jay has been able to have synergy and spiritual thinking action and transactional money mindset? The thing that's really done that is, for me, it's always been service driven. That I really believe that if I'm able to give the best value, if I'm able to write the best book I possibly can, then I can get really excited about marketing it and sharing it with the world. See, if you're not proud of the product you're creating, you'll struggle to put it out there. Or you put it out there and you get bad feedback and you realize. But for me, it's like when you've worked really hard to put your heart, blood, sweat, and tears into a product and something that you're creating that you really feel has value, you can get super excited about telling everyone about it, right? If you watch a good movie, you'll tell everyone about it. If you watch a bad movie, you'll tell everyone about it too, but it'll be the wrong way. So for me, that's what's kept me pumped and motivated, is when I'm writing a book or I'm trying to create something, I'm trying to write the best thing I can write. And if I'm really preparing and getting the process right, I'm more excited to talk about it afterwards.
Timothy wants to know, what are your goals for expansion for the next 1 to 5 years? I hate these questions, but go ahead. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. I usually don't plan more than 12 months in advance. But I'd say one of my biggest focuses right now, and it always has been, is how do we get the whole entertainment industry to come from a place of enlightenment and service? Like, more people are going to watch movies and TV shows than they do anything else in the world, whether it's books or seminars or courses. It's just the way people choose entertainment over education every single day.
100%.
And my whole goal is, how do we give entertainment an educational heart? So that's the direction I'm moving in and aspiring in, is how do we start fueling all the content that we watch on streaming channels and on TV and on movies with a heart that's full of service and it's going to help people.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you the other day about erasing the line between business and art.
Yeah.
And art and business, because I think they need each other both so terribly.
1,000%, man, 1,000%.
Cindy wants to know, how do you raise funds through YouTube? Is it followers that fund you, or how?
So YouTube is just through views, and that's YouTube and Facebook are views. Here's my piece of advice on that. it's a risky business strategy to build a real business off of views. A, because the algorithm is not in your control and it's even more fluctuating than the market. So like the ups and downs are painful. I know friends who paid off their parents' mortgages only to be broke the next year because they had a big year because of views and then they had a bad year. So my advice is that whatever you have, you need to create a business model that's separate from views and from video views, because that is something you can't control. And so whether that's coaching, whether it's product, whether it's a service, whether it's consulting, whether it's coaching, whatever it is that you're creating, it needs to exist beyond the views. The views are a nice bonus, but don't make that your mainstay. It's
well, that's just, never depend on one flow of anything from anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Mike wants to know, hey, what would you like to be? How would you like to be more like Grant?
That's a great question. I love that. And I admire Grant. And I would say that I'd want to be more like Grant. I love how bold he is. I love his boldness. I think it's beautiful. I'm not talking about his hair. I like his hair. So,
I cut my hair,
not bald. And he's got good hair. And we were talking about hair the other day, so it's an inside joke that me and him were having.
Yeah.
But I would say that, and I would say that I really love the way he's so convinced about his approach with money. I really appreciate that. I really recognize how hard it is. Just as I'm convinced about well-being and wellness, he's fully convinced and all in on his philosophy and mindset. And I really respect that. I think that's hard to do, to be all in on a mindset, and he is. Yeah.
Because there's so much hate in the world, dude. Like if you're big on social, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten your share of criticism and
tons. Yeah.
How do you handle that?
I think for me, it's the first thing is seeing like what feedback is there in this criticism that's not the criticism part. Like what feedback is there? Is there something that's true? Is there something that's valuable? Is there something that's going to help me improve? And I'll take that all day and I try and extract and filter that out and use that. And then I take the sting out, because I don't want to sit there and deal with anything that's not going to help me push forward. And the other thing you have to look at is you remind yourself of why you're doing this, why you started, and you keep going. And there was this brilliant answer that I got. Actually, I asked Simon Sinek this years ago, and he said to me that he spent a lot of time when he first started out. Everyone who criticized him, he would reach out to them and try and convince them that they were wrong. And he realized he wasted a lot of time on it, and he barely won. And he realized he never responded to anyone who left a positive comment. And he just switched that model. So he started responding to the goodness out there and the love, and recognizing to just take the feedback. So that's what I've tried to do.
I actually don't. My experience is the people that are criticizing aren't actually talking about you. They're talking about themselves.
Interesting.
They're like, they see something in you that they haven't done themselves, or some envy or resentment or whatever. I know I've done that. How do you handle people in your family who don't understand? Can't support you when it comes to following your dreams? It's from Logan Price.
Yeah, so Logan, good question, but the truth is that most people will never understand you. And so waiting around or wishing or wanting people to understand you is like a never-ending journey. And so my advice is, I became a monk. No one was ever going to understand that. And it's becoming a monk is like the ultimate act of rebellion against society. It's literally off the wall. And so when I did that, no one understood it. But that's why the point is you have to understand your decision. And that's sometimes the thing, that other people not understanding us is a reminder to us that we don't understand our own feelings about something. And when you go all in on that, then you don't need people to understand you.
The good answer. You became a monk. I became a drug addict. So, would you become a monk again now that you have hit prime time? If yes, when? This is from Kapil.
No, I wouldn't, because I'm happily married. Absolutely love my wife. I don't plan on leaving her. And, I really...
You can't be married to be a monk? So what's the rules on the monk thing?
No, when you're a monk, you're celibate. Like there's no relationships. So for 3 years I was a monk.
No touchy, nothing.
Nothing at all, man. It's the real deal. It's like the most disciplined life in the world. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I love the life I've created. I love the meaning and purpose I get to live with. And I go back and live with the monks every year for like 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes a month. I take time off and I go back to the monastery in India and spend time with them. So now I get the best of both. So I love my life.
Your biggest, Duncan McDermott, your biggest learnings from your time as a monk.
Okay, my number one learning would be adaptability. So we slept on the floor. We woke up at 4 a.m. every day. We took cold showers every morning. We never had a stable place that we even slept. So where we would sleep would change daily. You don't have a place. And all my physical possessions fit into a gym locker. When you learn to live like that, you get really adaptable and resilient because you start to realize that A, you can live with very little. And that actually builds a much more risk-taking mentality because you have less to lose. So you're always willing to try new things and experiment. The second thing I'd say is learn to see how much I can push my limits. So you may say, Jay, I could never meditate for an hour. I could never meditate for that long. It's too much. My mind's crazy. You just don't know until you try. I mean, we did some of our meditations were 8 hours long. And if someone told me that as a teenager that I'd be doing that, I would have laughed at them. And so the limits that I got to push mentally surprised me. And now that's why I can have a bigger vision for what I'm doing now is because I don't think of those limits in the same way. So those are some of the biggest lessons from
Joe, Jay, what do you know about time that other people don't know?
About time?
Time, yeah.
Time's an illusion. Like time's made up. Time's not real. Like, there is no such thing as old and young. There is no such thing as forward, ahead, or behind. To me, it's all made up. Like those are all league tables that have been constructed. And so for me, time's an illusion, and time is ultimately we've all got the same amount of time if you do start giving it a category. But to me, don't think about being young or old, ahead or behind. You waste your time and you won't know where you are tomorrow.
The biggest excuses that you hear people making today.
Oh yeah, I don't have time. I don't have time is a big one, which I think ultimately, as we all know, comes down to a list of priorities because we all have time to do stuff. Another excuse that I hear today is, people don't believe in me. Like no one believes in me. No one thinks I can do it. I think that's the story of, and this is why, Grant, it's so important to study the lives of people you admire.
Yeah.
When you study people's lives, you'll realize that they've all failed, they've all made mistakes, they all got something wrong, they all got rejected. And then you start realizing you're just on the right path. And so for me, reading and studying the lives of successful people has been a huge help.
Are you studying people that are living or past or both?
When I was young, I spent a lot of time studying people that had gone. So whether it was Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Malcolm X, and then Steve Jobs was a massive icon for me because Steve Jobs actually is the one person, and Grant, I don't know if you know this or if you've looked into it, he was the person that really found spirituality and strategy and the synergy between the two. So there's a great story of Mark Zuckerberg tells this story. In 2009, he was struggling with the journey in the direction of Facebook, and he went to his mentor to ask him, what do I do? And 2009, imagine Facebook had only been around 5 years, so super early days. And he goes to his mentor happens to be Steve Jobs. And he goes to Steve, Steve, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do next. What do I do? Now, Steve Jobs in 2009 could have called up anyone in the world, right? Money, investors, hedge funds, VCs, advisors, whoever he wants. And he said to him, he said, Mark, you need to go live in an ashram with monks in India. And when you do that, you'll find the journey that you're looking for. And Mark actually followed up on this. So Mark tells this story at Facebook a few years ago when the Prime Minister of India visited Modi. And he repeated this story to the Prime Minister and said, I actually went to India and that's where I found that Facebook was about connecting people. So finding these opposites and getting opposites to connect is actually the genius of the most powerful leaders.
Wow, I didn't know that story about Mark. Let's see. Cena Tran says, my mom said I shouldn't buy the boot camp. Oh, this is a different question. Okay. Because I'm 14 years old. You should buy the boot camp, young man, by the way. Your mother's wrong. I just tell your mother to call me, and I'm going to tell her in front of us both that she's wrong. Hey, should Grant 10X his TikTok? Are you big on TikTok? Because they're asking you if I should be on TikTok more.
I think Grant would do great on TikTok. Definitely Grant should do TikTok. You should just take what you're doing already, Grant, and using it on TikTok and see how it does. Definitely.
You know, it's just, there's so much. What is the future to you of social media? What happens here? I see a lot of people asking your